When God stops whispering, something in the air changes before you even understand what is happening. It isn't loud at first, it isn't destructive, and it isn't chaotic, but there is an unmistakable shift that tells your spirit the season is no longer the same. The wind feels heavier with purpose, the silence feels charged, and the ground beneath your feet starts carrying a vibration you can't explain. You begin to sense that the gentle nudge you once depended on has transformed into something far more powerful, far more urgent, and far more determined to pull you out of whatever valley held you captive for far too long. There comes a time in every person's life when the quiet encouragement from God gives way to a holy shaking. And that shaking isn't punishment, it's awakening. It's the moment when heaven decides you've sat in darkness long enough and now the miracles you prayed for must come with force, clarity, and unstoppable momentum. Many people misunderstand the shaking season because it arrives disguised as disruption. Doors close abruptly. Plans collapse without warning. The people you thought would walk with you forever suddenly drift away as if they were never meant to stay. Opportunities vanish, routines crumble, and the comfort zones you built with your own hands start to feel unbearably tight. At first, you may even wonder if something is going wrong, if you've made a mistake, or if life is unraveling faster than you can hold it together. But what appears to be unraveling is often God pulling apart the threads of what was never meant to bind you. The whisper season allowed you to hear, but the shaking season forces you to move. You don't always move when you're comfortable, you move when you can no longer deny the transformation being demanded of you. Sometimes God whispers while you're learning, healing, rebuilding, and rising in quiet resilience. His whisper is what comforts you when the nights feel endless, and you don't yet have the strength to stand. But once you're strong enough to transition, once you're ready to step into something bigger, once the place you're standing in can no longer hold the magnitude of who you're becoming, the whisper stops. Silence doesn't mean absence, silence means wait. Silence means instruction is shifting into activation. When God stops whispering, He isn't leaving you, He's preparing to shake the ground beneath your feet so the things that were buried under fear, doubt, or delay can finally rise into the light. Miracles rarely emerge in stillness. They grow in the cracks created by divine disruption. They rise when the old breaks apart. They manifest when the barriers fall. When God begins shaking your world, it is not chaos but construction. He is rebuilding you in real time, shaping you with fresh purpose, and positioning you exactly where destiny needs you next. Every trembling moment is intentional. Every sudden change carries a promise. Every unexpected shift is a doorway disguised as difficulty. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. Nothing is beyond His design. The shaking begins in the spirit long before it reaches your circumstances. You might feel restless without knowing why. You may feel like something is pulling you forward even though nothing around you has changed yet. You may feel like your heart is outgrowing the places that once felt comfortable. The dreams you once put on the shelf begin knocking at your soul again. The version of you that stayed quiet, small, patient, or safe starts rising with a hunger you haven't felt in years. This is the early sign that God is no longer whispering, He is stirring. His stirring is the prelude to miracles. It is the moment heaven starts rearranging things quietly before it does so loudly. Then, slowly but unmistakably, the external shaking begins. Opportunities appear out of nowhere, not as gentle suggestions but as undeniable calls. Connections show up that feel orchestrated, not accidental. Ideas flood into your mind with clarity you didn't have before. You find yourself saying yes to things you once feared, stepping into roles you once questioned, breaking patterns you once accepted, and embracing boldness you didn't know lived inside you. This is what happens when God decides you're ready for movement. His shaking is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to lift you. It is the divine force that nudges you into alignment with the life He always intended for you, and yet, part of this shaking season also involves letting go. Letting go of who you used to be. Letting go of what is no longer meant for the journey ahead. Letting go of friendships, habits, and environments that can't carry the next level of your calling. It's not easy, but it's holy. Growth requires release. Elevation requires surrender. Transformation requires courage. When God stops whispering and begins shaking, He is making room for miracles by removing what would suffocate them. Every ending He orchestrates is a beginning in disguise. Every removal is protection. Every closure is a redirection into something far greater. At times the shaking might feel relentless. But remember, anything God shakes, He intends to strengthen. Anything He disrupts, He intends to rebuild. Anything He removes, He intends to replace with something better. And anything He transforms, He intends to elevate. The miracle is not simply the outcome, the miracle is the process, the endurance, the faith it requires, the becoming that happens along the way. You are not being broken, you are being reshaped. You are not losing yourself, you are discovering parts of you that were dormant. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. Sometimes the shaking exposes truths you ignored. It reveals the relationships that were draining you. It exposes the jobs that were keeping you small. It uncovers the fears that were quietly controlling your decisions. It surfaces the insecurities you buried under busyness. It brings to light the dreams you hid because you didn't believe you deserved them. The shaking season is honest. It's raw. It's transformative because it forces you to confront what the whispering season allowed you to avoid. But rather than condemn you, it liberates you. It sets you free from anything that contradicts your purpose, and then, after the shaking, after the stripping away, after the release, after the surrender, the miracles start to arrive. Not quietly, but boldly. Not slowly, but suddenly. Miracles don't tiptoe into your life during this season, they burst in. They collide with your circumstances. They sweep through your world with unstoppable force because nothing is standing in their way anymore. You become aligned, open, ready, and available in a way you weren't before. The miracle is not simply that God answered your prayers, it's that you finally became the version of yourself who can hold what you prayed for. Miracles are rarely gentle. They often come in ways that feel overwhelming, unimaginable, and shockingly swift. They remove limitations you didn't know you had. They break timelines you thought were fixed. They accelerate growth that should have taken years. They connect you with people you never expected to meet. They place you in rooms you don't even remember knocking on. They open doors you thought were permanently sealed. They resurrect dreams you once pronounced dead. Miracle seasons are more like earthquakes than breezes. They shake every part of your life not to destroy but to reveal the foundations that were meant to support your future. When God stops whispering, He shakes your world because He wants you to see clearly what you once saw dimly. He wants you to grasp the magnitude of your calling, the depth of your potential, the power of your resilience, and the beauty of the plan He has been orchestrating all along. Miracles don't just bless you, they change you. They stretch your faith into territories you never imagined. They transform your mindset from survival into abundance. They teach you to trust even when nothing makes sense. They show you that divine timing is far more precise than your own plans. The season you're stepping into may feel unfamiliar, but it is holy. It may feel unsettling, but it is purposeful. It may feel intense, but intensity is often the language miracles speak before they arrive. You are not being abandoned. You are being accelerated. You are not going backward, you are being pulled forward. You are not losing control, you are being carried by a force far greater than yourself. If the ground beneath you feels like it's trembling, if the silence around you feels heavy with meaning, if the plans you built are suddenly collapsing, if the people around you are shifting out of your life, if the opportunities are appearing faster than you can process, if the path ahead is opening even while the path behind you is closing, if everything feels like it's changing at once. You are not in danger, you are in destiny, you are in transformation. You are in the miracle-making moment where God has stopped whispering and started shaking your world so profoundly that you cannot remain who you were. You must rise into who you were meant to be. You are being pushed into purpose. You are being launched into alignment. You are being prepared for blessings that require a stronger, wiser, bolder, more expansive version of you. This shaking is not chaos, it is choreography. Every movement is divine. Every shift is intentional. Every disruption is sacred. Every change is a step toward the life heaven designed for you long before you understood your own worth. And when the miracle lands, when it finally takes form in your reality, you will look back at the season of shaking and understand why God stopped whispering. Whispering was no longer enough to carry you into your next chapter. You needed a miracle that would awaken your courage, your healing, your power, your identity, your potential, and your calling. You needed the kind of transformation that only comes when God decides to shake your world, not to break you, but to build something new through you. You are in that season now. You are standing on holy, trembling ground. You are being reshaped by divine force. And the miracle that is coming won't just change your life, it will change you. It will remind you that every moment of confusion was leading to clarity, that every moment of loss was making room for more, and that every moment of silence was preparing you for the sound of breakthrough. God is not whispering anymore because the time for gentle reminders has passed. Now He is shaking your world because the moment you've prayed for, cried for, fought for, and waited for is finally rising, not softly, not slowly, but powerfully. Your miracle is not on the way, it is arriving. Your breakthrough is not distant, it is unfolding. Your transformation is not subtle, it is seismic. Your story is not ending, it is awakening. And when it all unfolds, you will realize that the shaking was never meant to frighten you. And when it all unfolds, you will realize the shaking was never meant to frighten you, it was meant to free you. Every tremor was loosening the chains you forgot you were carrying. Every sudden shift was breaking open the places where you had settled for less than what you were born for. Every unexpected change was preparing the soil of your life for a harvest that could never have grown in the comfort of the old season. You were being awakened, stretched, refined, and lifted, not because God wanted to overwhelm you, but because He wanted to reveal the magnitude of the life waiting on the other side of your obedience. You will look back and see that nothing was random, nothing was wasted, and nothing was taken from you without something far greater being prepared in its place. The doors that closed were doors that could never lead you into the destiny designed for you. The people who left were characters whose role in your story had reached its final page. The opportunities that dissolved were paths that would have kept you smaller than your calling. You were not being denied, you were being redirected. You were not being delayed, you were being developed, and as the miracles begin to bloom around you, you will understand why the whisper stopped. Whispers are for instruction, but shaking is for elevation. Whispers build your faith, but shaking activates your purpose. Whispers comfort you in the dark, but shaking ushers you into the light. God shook your world because you were finally ready, ready to receive, ready to rise, ready to walk into the chapter He wrote for you long before fear made you doubt it. Soon you will step into moments that feel surreal, blessings that come faster than explanations, breakthroughs that leave you speechless, opportunities that unfold with divine precision, connections that feel heaven orchestrated, and peace that settles over your life like a sunrise after the longest night. You will feel strength where weakness once lived, courage where fear once ruled, clarity where confusion once lingered. You will feel alignment, a deep, undeniable sense that your life is finally catching up to the greatness that was always inside you, and in that moment, you will know, the shaking was the sound of your miracle being delivered, the shifting was the sign that heaven had moved on your behalf, The silence was the breath before the breakthrough. The disruption was the doorway into destiny. You are stepping into a season where everything that felt heavy will begin to lift, where everything that felt delayed will accelerate, where everything that felt impossible will unfold with ease. This is your rising season. Your rebuilding season. Your miracle season. Nothing can stop what God has already set in motion. Not fear. Not doubt. Not timing. Not circumstances. Not the past. Not the opinions of others. What is meant for you is stronger than anything working against you, and so you stand here now, on the trembling edge of transformation, with the ground still humming beneath your feet. This is the moment you realize you survived the shaking not because you were unbreakable, but because you were being remade. You endured the silence not because nothing was happening, but because everything was being prepared. You made it through the valley not because you were alone, but because you were being led toward a higher mountain. This is where the miracle meets you. This is where your story turns. This is where your purpose ignites. This is where you rise into the fullness of who you are. When God stops whispering, it is because the season of whispers is over. Now is the season of wonders. Now is the season of breakthroughs. Now is the season of miracles that don't knock. They enter. Miracles that don't ask permission. They take their place. Miracles that don't wait for the perfect moment. They create one. Your world is shaking because heaven has moved. Your heart is stirring because your time has come, and the miracle that once felt distant is now placing itself in your hands, ready to rewrite everything you believed was possible. This is your moment. This is your awakening. This is your miracle.